right, so I'm going to jump up to lesson 11. So yesterday, you guys took a look at some. Some examples of personal websites, and hopefully, if you completed the assignment yesterday, you gave some thought as to what it is that you want to do with your personal website. Okay, so there are some more examples of personal websites, and you'll be able to go through and take a look at these on your own if you'd like to. The nice thing about these examples is that it does kind of show you some of the code. So, for example, if I wanted to know how they did certain things, of course, I can always turn my inspector on and then highlight the code, and I can even go over to the style sheet and highlight that to see how they made certain things happen. So I do recommend to everybody that if you have a minute, you take a look at your Bubble 1, again, your sample websites, because if you see anything in those websites that you like, you can go there for examples of the code that you're going to want to use.
Layout and style, look through web page below.
All right, so layout and style. So when we look at layout and style, it says what makes the entire page blue? How are the images positioned to the left versus the other images? Because up until this point, like some of the, and I'm just going to kind of get rid of this for right now. Some of these images are on the left, but then there's this one image that's on the right. So how do they do that differently, right? So that's what we're going to look at. So if I'm looking at why is something blue and why are the images where they are, am I thinking about structure or am I thinking about style? Style. So should I be looking on my HTML page or should I be looking on my CSS page? CSS page. So I'm going to come down here to my CSS page and I'm going to try to figure out what they did differently for this particular picture. So I'm going to turn on my inspector and I'm going to hover over this picture down here. And I need to turn my inspector back on because it's being a pain, but that's okay. One is just you guys taking a look at different sample websites, and then if there's anything in there in the code that you like, that'll give you some code that you can copy from. Okay, so if I come down here to the style sheet, I can see, okay, so it says image float left, width, margin. So it looks like we can actually change our images, and we have some border and some border radius, border style, etc. So there are some different things happening with these images that we really necessarily haven't seen before. You can make style choices for your images the same way that you can make style choices for your text, for your paragraphs, for your headings, etc. As far as why is the background blue, right here, body, background color, light blue. Okay? So if you want to change the background, again, it's to the whole body, and then we have the background color right there. So again, this is more of an exploration in terms of what it is that we have going on. Really? That's interesting. That is odd. I don't know why maybe I changed something in here. Shh, don't tell anybody. All right. And oh, okay, 1 second. So again, background color. If I'm on the style sheet, at the top, I have body as my selector, and then I have my curly brackets, and then I have background color as a choice, a style choice that I can make. Okay? So let's see what number 3 bubble is asking us to do. It says change the code to make the page a different color. Try to change the background color of just the paragraphs. Okay, cool. So the body, instead of light blue, what color do we want to make this, guys? Purple. I heard purple first. So I'm going to change the background color to purple. And there it is. Now it says just changing the background color of the paragraphs. So if I want to change just the background color of the paragraphs, where am I going to make my changes? Under which selector? If I just want to change my paragraphs, the paragraph selector. So I'm going to come down here to paragraphs, and I'm going to change this background color background color for just my paragraphs. And then what color? I think I heard a green earlier. Is that right? Okay, and I'm going to change that to green. If I spelled that right, it'd be helpful. Now, this is hideous, and it kind of has like, Ursula from The Little Mermaid vibes going. But it still gives you an idea of how to do this. Okay? So again, if I want to change just the background of my paragraphs, I can do that. If I want to change the background of the whole sheet, I can do that. I can change the backgrounds of the headings if I wanted to do that. Okay, but again, it's all about where you make that style choice and make sure you are choosing the correct selector. Go ahead and I think that's all we have to do for this one. Yep. And finish.
The body element. Find the body rule set in the
Okay, find the body rule set and the style sheet. Discuss with a partner what you think will happen if you add text align, color, or any other text properties to the body set rule. Try to find some different properties to check your guesses. Okay, so what do we think is going to happen if I go to my style sheet and up here in the body, I am going to add, I forgot that quickly. Sure. So what's going to happen if I go to the body and I'm going to go, let's say text align. So up here in body, I'm going to go to text align. Let's say center. What do you guys think is going to happen? So you think everything will move to the center? The pictures or the text? Yep, I'm in the body. You don't think anything will move to the center? Okay, any other guesses? It's either nothing moves to the center, everything moves to the center, or only certain pieces move to the center. Those are really our only three choices. So she says only certain things. Like what? Like what is one thing that you think would move to the center? Okay, so you think the text is going to move, but not everything else. Okay, let's find out. And look at that. Oops. Here we go. And yes, all of my text now appears to be centered. But the images didn't change. Okay? So apparently, if you put things up here in the whole body, it will affect the entire page. It is the entire body of the web page. That's got to be something in my teacher setting, just so you know. So I'll have to go and check my settings. Awesome. Thank you. Huh? Yeah, just it's right outside. All right. So again, anything that we do to the body as a body selector will affect the entire page. If you have a specific selector, paragraph, heading, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 6, image, those things will affect those specific elements. But if anything you put under body will affect the entire web page. So for example, if you wanted to use a certain font type for the entire web page, you didn't want to have to keep resetting it for headings and resetting it for paragraphs and resetting it for heading 2, then the thing that would make sense would be to put it in the body. All right, so once I am done with bubble 4, I'm going to go ahead and hit finish.
float. Look at the float property inside.
Okay, and then it says, look at the float property inside your image rule set. Discuss with your partner what you think this property does. Change the value from left to right. All right, what's that? Yeah, what was up with 3?
Background color.
1 second. What now? Right, okay, so if I go to my style sheet and I want to change just my paragraph color, what I did was I did a background color specifically for the paragraphs. You see that? So I have my P for my selector, and it had the text align, family, font, and then I added background color green yellow. Does that make sense? All right, so jumping back over to number 5.
Float look at the float property inside your
Okay, so it says look at the float property inside your image rule set. Discuss with your partner what you think the property does. Change the value from left to right. So looking at my style sheet, looking at my rule set for images, it currently says float left. So what do we think it's making the images do? Stay on the left side. So it's basically like like a left align, right? If you guys know like alignment from like Word documents. So what do we think is going to happen if I change the word left to the word right? They should move to the other side. And there they go. What do you think would happen if I put center? Oops. It would stay in the center. Okay? So you can decide where you want to put your images if you create a rule set in your CSS page for your images. Okay? Pretty simple, easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
width and height. Find the property in the style sheet that can.
All right, so one of the things when I first started doing HTML that I found that was really irritating is I would find an awesome picture that I loved, and then I would go to put it into my web page, and then the picture would be either really, really big or it'd be really, really small. And I found that really, really irritating. So one of the cool things is, again, using rule sets, you can change the size of your images. So it says change the width of the images to appear smaller or larger, create a new rule set for the height property to control the height of the images, and use the width property within the P rule set to change the width of the paragraphs. So again, I can change anything I want. So let's start with the images. Actually, I'm going to put this back on left because I kind of like them on the left. Actually, I think it told me to put them on the right, so I'll put them on the right. All right, so I can change the width and the height of my image. So I can go from, let's say, height. Oops, height. I'm going to go with 450 px. And notice what happened to them. Now that is horrible, and I would never leave them like that because it is hideous. But you get the idea. You can resize the height, you can resize the width of the picture to make it the size that you want it to be. I'm on the style sheet, yes. So the HTML sheet is where the HTML is. So the HTML is sort of like the skeleton, it's all the content. The style is where we're going to change how that content looks. So I put the image in on the HTML sheet, but I change how the image appears or how the paragraph appears or how the headings appear in the CSS sheet. Because HTML is the content and the CSS is the style. I need to change this back because it is like literally the most ugly thing I've seen in my entire life. I'm going to go back to 250 because that's I think what it was originally. There we go. That's not bad. 150. So that looks a little bit better. All right. So now, if I wanted to, I can also change these paragraphs. So you see how like it's kind of like under the pictures and it sort of looks a little wonky? What if I wanted that color for the paragraphs only where the wording is for the paragraph, right? I could change the size, height, and width of my paragraph. So I'm going to go with let's try 250 because why not? PX. So you see what happened there? I now have these paragraphs sort of isolated. They're not just taking up the entire space anymore. You can again create, it's almost like, and if I wanted to, I could do a border around my paragraph. Border. Maybe, I don't know. Is that where you put the color in? Oh, border color, my bad. And maybe I want to outline these in ice blue. Border width. Uh, Medium. Try 5px. Well, it's hard to see because it's not horribly big, but I do have a tiny little outline on my paragraphs now. Anyways, again, this is the whole idea here, is that you can change literally any style element you want on anything that you've added to your HTML in any way, shape, or form that you choose. And really, the only limit is your imagination. So that takes you through bubble 6. Bubble 7, you have A through F. You guys are going to do that. Bubble 8.
Try it out. Now that you've seen,
it's asking you to fix a couple of things in the page. And then 9, as always, your challenges. I strongly encourage you to do them, but they are not required. So I did 1 through 6. You guys can now do 7 through 9 on your own. As always, if you have issues, please ask. But other than that, you have this time to work.